Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another version of our CEOs in Sales Tech series that we're running right now. I'm joined today by Derek Rey, founder and CEO of Demand Inc., and soon to be releasing Lasso.ai. Derek, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Like I said, I ran through Demand Inc. with David a while ago, and it's really, really cool, product and solution that you've been working on with sales teams, and now you've got Lasso coming out. Derek, how did you get involved in this? What was the initial problem that you were solving with Demand Inc. and then developing Lasso?
Yeah, so Demand is a best-in-class sales development as a service that I launched almost 7 years ago. Since then, we just crossed the 7 billion in pipeline book for our clients mark, which I'm very proud of. But the vision was really to create a solution where any client can hire us that needs help with B2B top of funnel acceleration. If they have an internal SDR, BDR team or not, we can plug in and accelerate top of funnel. And the three kind of core areas of sales development, which is research, copywriting, outbound experimentation to book meetings. So that's how it started 7 years ago. But prior to that, I led go-to-market efforts for a client-backed security company that later exited and became a unicorn at exit. So I've taken a unicorn, SaaS company to market. And prior to that, I was in the media space, started a couple companies, sold a few. And so I come from a transactional top of funnel, full funnel sales background. And the nature in terms of how you book meetings, get in front of brands and sponsors and opportunities and media, the amount of meetings you take, road shows, conference outreach, just continually feeling top of funnel. That I would say that ethos applied to SaaS is why I had success in a Silicon Valley context. And so building Demand, you kind of have this best in class breed of, top of funnel philosophy plus technology, which is what Lasso is, that we built for, utilizing OpenAI and AWS and Clearbit and a lot of machines to find opportunities that you're missing. That's ultimately the value prop for Lasso, which we'll get into. But at the end of the day, I'm a sales developer. I book meetings. I wake up. I write copy. I research. I experiment. And so, fast forward, 7 billion in pipeline, over 100 people on our team, 60 professional sports teams, a lot of startups, some of the most recognizable brands, tech brands that are our clients. Nothing's changed. The work we're doing in terms of piquing interest in booking meetings or getting people to reply, it's probably become more challenging for most, but for us, I think we certainly have a technology advantage and certainly a framework advantage.
It's interesting because if you talk to sales tech founders, there's sales tech founders that were in sales or in demand gen or in sales development, and they had this issue that they needed to work out, so they developed a product or service. And then on the flip side, there's technologists who are just like, wow, sales technology is a huge market. I should develop something, and it's interesting because they both have strengths and weaknesses, right? Like the sales guys like just get it, but sometimes the technology under the hood is like, wait a minute, this is like
Yeah,
a
thousand percent. And
Wizard of Oz.
yeah, 1000%. And for us, we represent so many teams and so many verticals or so many clients, I should say, that, we built out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
And, investing seven figures in data, having 30 people on a human research team to do Mechanical Turk, programmatic capabilities for crawling, parsing, like best in class sales development, I'd say skill set, technology, et cetera, tooling, wasn't enough. Like we still needed to build AI to solve gaps. And anyone that's in sales, anyone that's in sales development, anyone that reaches out to accounts and contacts in a B2B way, they know the difficult challenge of finding net new, right? And when you have you have these large data sets that you've invested in, and you've been engaging for a while, eventually you start to lose sight of the forest amongst the trees, right? Because the human cognitive ability to maintain relationships, the Dunbar theory, I think it's like 120 relationships we can maintain in all of our lives. Our brains just were never, it was never meant for us to have a total addressable market in the thousands, right? And some of our clients will be 10,000 potential buyers, 100,000 potential buyers. And so that closing the cognitive gap of, having a piece of AI to say, like, here's the contacts you're missing that match your ICP who you haven't contacted, and here's what you should say to them. We're building out a necessity out of what we like, what is our ideal want, need in technology, and we went out and built it. And that's what Lasso.ai is that we've just launched. The best analogy to compare Lasso, it's like a phone book, right? And I actually have cold called in phone books before. I'm at that age where when my career started, I literally had a phone book. And when back then your thumb got dirty or whatever finger you used to track your place in terms of where you were in the phone book. And the same issue then is present now in terms of the phone book just went digital. And it's hard to know, did I reach out to this person? And when was the last time? Or I have to go into a CRM. I have to, hunt these things down. And so, building AI to say, okay, phone book's no longer going to open. It's just going to tell you, here's who you're contacting. Here's who you're not currently talking to. So exclude open opportunities, existing customers, folks you want to avoid. Focus on net new, like that programmatic ability for any salesperson to receive. Here's your the Glenn Ross leads. Like, that's what Lasso is. It's literally like these are the best leads. And not only that, we didn't stop there. We also built in OpenAI's ChatGPT, and trained it with a ton of language training in terms of writing concise emails. Why you, why now? That's what we built in Lasso. So it's kind of like a salesperson's dream, and it's because it's built out of necessity. It's built for us, and so we're excited to bring it to market.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of the people on the call are going to be Googling like phone book, Glengarry. I mean,
Yes.
we get that, right? Because
Yes.
we're probably in the same generation. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you guys need to like Google that stuff, we'll put it in the show notes. But you said something interesting in that you broke it down with Demand Inc. into like there were three big buckets. It was
Yep.
like researching, finding
Writing.
people and then writing, something interesting so that they'll talk to you. What were those three buckets, and then how did it kind of come together into what you're developing at
Yeah.
last?
So research, copywriting, outbound experimentation. And if you don't
Okay.
mind, I'll share screen so you can see our framework. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
for people listening to this on audio, Derek's showing their framework at Demand Inc. And maybe you can kind of like talk through what's on the slide in case
yep.
somebody doesn't have screen access.
Yeah. So left to right framework. The right is objective and key result completed, which is meeting booked. But research, copywriting, outbound experimentation. Those are the three buckets. Meeting booking is part of what we do as well, but that's really an afterthought to the core framework in terms of making sure you're researching the right contacts, you're putting out the best message possible, it's personalized. Every single message we send is personalized to the actual prospect at the company, which is a very important distinction. And then from an outreach perspective, best in class, scientific experimentation on what's resonating across. It could be different ICPs, industries, seniorities, job titles, etc. And because we can break all that down, and we built on top of AWS and built a lot of machine learning. So what's interesting is when you're using AI and you're actually generating individual messages, sequences and cadences, they might be thematic, but the being able to have visibility down to the variant and the variation that you're using is incredibly important. So say if you have a cadence and you're targeting CMOs in the Fortune 500, and within the Fortune 500, there's different industries, and you notice that one value prop is resonating in one industry that's over indexing in engagement, to do more of that. And then you need to also, it allows you to assess why the message might not be resonating in another industry, right? Because the goal of what we do in terms of top of funnel acceleration, it's really about the experimentation. Yes, we want to drive meetings. Yes, we want to, help our companies, hit their milestones, raise capital, exit, whatever it might be. We just had a client that was bought by Apple. in the last quarter, which is exciting. We've had a lot of clients make exits. We've had over 30 significant funding events for some of the top from top VC funds, Kleiner, Sequoia, NEA, etc. And so this framework in terms of accelerating top of funnel, the most important part is experimentation in terms of if it works, is it good, is it bad? You can use the Chinese farmer example of
Oh,
horse runs away. Is this good? Is it bad? We don't know. Let's keep going. Horse comes back next day with two more horses. The importance of testing, iterating, and once you establish champion variants, you see things that are working, you can do more of that, like that type of visibility. And we have a business intelligence tool just built for analyzing cold email. When you see those little wins, those open rates, reply rates, meeting to opportunity conversion, the uptick, and you start putting more volume at those variants, you see them start producing. I mean, it can be game changing for our clients. And so the space and channel of email has become way more crowded, way more noisy. A lot of the spray and pray, template based, send the same email to every single, title, person, industry, and see if anything comes back. I feel like those days are really gone, and the announcements that Google and Yahoo have made in terms of how we need to improve in 2024 and meet the new requirements to send cold email. I think it's great for the industry. And going back to generational differences, we have an entire generation now of sales development folks that probably never wrote one-off cold emails, right? And when you think about early sales development using email in the late 90s, early 2000s, we didn't have these tools where you could mail merge, CSV, blast out to 10,000 people. It was, where we started in terms of looking at a person on LinkedIn, writing a cold email, guessing their email, getting high bounces, all of those things. It's amazing where we are now in terms of being able to programmatically have better lists, programmatically, find, contacts, opportunities. But the ability to tell a story, pique someone's interest in email using plain text is a skill set that it seems like it's been completely missed, over the last 2 decades, because we went to these volumetric plays, and that skill set is more important now, which is amazing to say in 2024 than it ever has been, in terms of being able to pique interest. And we really like to think of it as like almost songwriting, and in Nashville, which I was explaining to you prior to the show, where my wife and I were just moving out from San Francisco to Nashville. And in Nashville, songwriting, storytelling is really the industry there. And it's fascinating because when you look at good songwriting in Nashville, they'll say it's four chords and the truth, right? Cold email is very similar. It's about getting to the truth. It's about personalization at scale, not being sounding salesy, not creating sales resistance with a message, even though we're salespeople. Like, how can you be human at scale and have a reason of why you, why now? So it's exciting times for sales development. It's exciting times to bring technology to the table that helps salespeople find opportunities they're missing, both at the account and contact level, deliver personalized messaging, and also to have built it from necessity, because we know every sales team we work with, when we show them what we've built and then we put it in play, they fall out of their chairs with excitement. It's definitely I think, for the fear that AI has created for a lot of folks, I do believe that we salespeople are going to generate or benefit the greatest from a lot of the technology that we have now that we didn't have, 6 months ago.
yeah. I mean, maybe these things are actually beneficial, right? Because you think about how much time do you spend as an SDR or a sales rep digging through files and files on LinkedIn and whatever data provider you're using, and you're just trying to find the right person at the account to reach out to, just right there. I mean, that's like hours a day for a lot of these people. And then once you find the right person and you have some confidence in their contact information, now you've got to write an email that entices them to respond. And that's really hard. Now they're even making it harder because you can't get your email to the inbox if you get, marked as spam with all these things. So it's like you're talking hours a day of the mundane, repetitious activity that nobody wants to do. And
Absolutely.
even at the end of it, you might get to the end of like 8 hours a day of doing this and have no results whatsoever. So why
Or,
not get an AI to
or
do all that?
absolutely, or a 20% bounce rate, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so you're, you're you're spot on, and
Mhm.
you said it better than I could. But so this is Lasso AI. So this is our internal tool that we've been using for the last 2 years. And I want to show, any salesperson that sees this will immediately see the value. But what I've done is I've uploaded a list, an ABM list, so account-based marketing list. So this is the Fortune 500. Let's say I sell the Fortune 500 companies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell Lasso, I want to find CMOs at Fortune 500 companies. Um,
Mhm.
and I just want their email address. I won't use a phone number because I want to avoid any type of data concerns. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go after CMOs that are actually within the marketing department. You might see assistant to the CMO or something that could appear because we are using a keyword. But what I can do with Lasso is I can use exclusion in terms of, and this could be open opportunities, existing customers, folks I'm already talking to. So now when you think about, okay, I have an account-based list. I'm telling Lasso to go find this exact contact at this company. And in a matter of milliseconds, we're going to parse 20 million pages and then validate every single email programmatically. You saw it. I mean, that was maybe 2 seconds. And this is still working through the entire Fortune 500. But what Lasso's doing is it goes out, finds person's name that matches the title. And you can see the list is getting larger. And these are all CMOs at Fortune 500 companies. And it's programmatically validating their email address. It guesses first, then goes through validation second. And then I can add more data to this, their LinkedIn, direct phone number, any firmographic data to the contact information. But what I just did was I just ran a 100% additive gap analysis of buyers that match my ICP that I currently don't have or I'm not talking to. And I just did that in seconds. So when you talked about someone that's spending 30, 40% of their time prospecting, you can now do what would take months or even years, you can literally do in seconds. And
That's
that's and this is what we've had. This is literally the internal tool that I'm showing you. The public tool Lasso.ai is much prettier, but we've been sitting on this for about 24 months, and this has been game changing for our clients. So this allows us to, obviously the cognitive load that sales development folks have in terms of trying to find that new. This solves that problem, so you can really focus on the more impactful aspect of your day, and that's hopefully closing deals. But the other thing you mentioned in terms of creating personalized emails or contacting them, we've
yeah.
also built GPT into this. So but wait, there's more, right? So we built GPT into this, so
It's
you
like an
can
infomercial.
yeah, right. I mean, you set it up so good. You set it up better than I could. I mean, the problem statement. So if I were to so say I'm selling Demand Inc., my parent company, to to of course, LastPass gets in the way.
LastPass
Yeah.
is no offense to anybody from LastPass, but it's just the biggest piece of junk. Okay. Demand. Okay, so you're typing in what's the name of the company? Demand Inc., which is
So
Derek's company.
Demand Inc. is my parent company.
AI
That's
enabled sales development. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. AI enabled sales development. And this is the white glove, top of funnel. We plug in, we become part of your team. We push all activity, full transparency. It's like having a best in class, sales development team that's external, right? But we're part of your team. So
Okay.
and I'll finish doing the live prompt here. AI enabled sales development for, we'll say, top of funnel acceleration. And this is I'm prompting AI, so the AI will do the heavy lifting here. 100,000 meetings booked for our clients, 7 billion in pipeline generated, and we have clients like, Uber, Salesforce, Live Nation, and 100 plus startups. I'll exclude the professional sports teams we work with because it's not relevant for these Fortune 500 companies. Um, And then we'll just put a basic CTA. We haven't spoken to your team yet, hoping to schedule a demo. So pretty common, somewhat, this is pretty concise. I could throw a lot more at it and let the AI go to work in terms of from a messaging perspective. So it takes 12 seconds for the first message to return. And there they are. See them coming in black here. So we'll open this one. So now the human time it took to prospect the entire Fortune 500, find what I'm missing. Now, if you look at the bottom body, and this is written for the CMO of AMD. Hi, John. I understand you oversee marketing at AMD. Are you interested in learning more about our AI-powered sales acceleration? I'm reaching out as our AI-enabled sales development has enabled 100,000 meetings and generated 7 billion pipeline for clients like Uber, Salesforce, Live Nation, 100 plus startups. Can we schedule a demo to discuss our service? Right. From its start, and keep in mind, there's things that I could have done to prompt better, to give it more information. There's things we can do, like we can do what we call like post jacking or news jacking. So we can look for news about AMD, or we can look about something John posted on LinkedIn because we have access to his LinkedIn. So there's ways for us to enrich. But from a core message perspective, short to the point, scannable, less than 90 words, ideally close to 50. Like when you think about the data that we're sitting on in terms of what's working now, we built AI to produce that messaging, and I did single prompt too. So anyone that's listening, it's using GPT to prompt, and they're like, regenerate, more concise, add this, add this. We could prompt the entire Fortune 500 on a single umbrella prompt and write copy for every single CMO that's going to be personalized to that individual in a matter of human seconds, right? We're talking less than a minute max. So going back to what you said earlier in terms about being more efficient, saving time, we're going to save sales teams thousands and thousands and thousands of hours a year with this technology.
That's insane. And so, for people that use like Outreach and Sales Loft and those type of things, after those emails go out and you start to get some activity, what's the next step for the SDR? Like when they come in the next day, is there a notification or something when somebody responds, or how do they know what to do next?
Yeah, so we built Lasso to work with those things to play nicely. So anyone that's using Sales Loft or Outreach, that's our ICP for this, right? Because anyone that's doing sales development, sales enablement, this allows them to find prospects faster and then personalize email at scale. So they could upload all of this in a CSV into those platforms. We also broke down the components of the message, the opener, the first sentence, the second sentence, the CTA. So maybe they just want to use Lasso to do the personalization piece, and they use that as a mail merge, but it's broken down in a CSV format. So any seller could say, okay, do I want to use the full message that Lasso created, or do I just want to use the elements of that message? And then I want like a static second message that I've already written. That stays the same, but I'm going to use Lasso for the subject line, or I'm going to use Lasso for that first the first sentence hook, which in those first 7 to 10 words, that's the most important place to have personalization because it's scannable pre-open. So when you look at the subject line in the first sentence, we actually see them in parity in terms of when you're optimizing for better open rates or better response rates. Those first 7 to 10 personalized words in the first sentence is really key. So sales teams can utilize, like anyone using Sales Loft or Outreach can use Lasso to increase engagement. But to answer your question, ideally, from the process that you're using now is simply just going to become more efficient, right? Because you can increase your throughput and volume, increase your throughput in terms of personalization. So in theory, that should increase engagement. So ideally, that salesperson comes in the next day and has more opportunities to respond to book a meeting. And keep in mind, this is all top of funnel. So this is helping sellers, get on first base or achieve what I believe is the hardest part in sales, is getting the meeting. So hopefully this leads to more responses, more meeting opportunities to go close.
Got it. And so they might come in and just have a couple of meetings already set on their calendar from the work that they did the night before.
Absolutely.
That's the dream, right?
That is the dream.
It's running while I'm sleeping.
That is a dream. It's a calendar that, an empty calendar that just you see it, fill up with meetings, right? But
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Let me ask you this. So just a real world example. So we just on Tenbound, we launched a, directory of sales tech companies. And
yep,
so there's two sides of the marketplace. There's the sales tech companies that need to advertise on Tenbound. And so I need to talk to their digital marketers.
yep.
And then we also need salespeople to go on and review the sales technologies that they've been using so we can build up the traffic on both sides. So you could take one or the other. What do I do? How do I use Lasso to help with either one or both of those?
Yeah, beautiful. Two-sided marketplace, like all marketplaces, right? So
That's true.
on the tech side, you just want to define ICP in terms of, um, you know, are they selling a product? Is a SaaS product? And then, are there specific, categories, or, you just want to look through in terms of, what are the characteristics of those accounts, and essentially go through a list creation process in terms of here are the accounts, right? And if you have those already, then you'd run those through Lasso to go find the exact contact. And one caveat is our account list builder for Lasso is something that we're developing for Q2. Right now, Lasso is really for ABM teams that have already done that list identification or account identification to go find those contacts we're missing. We built the hardest part first, which is the contact finding function. The second part is the accounts, which is, a lot of us have, pretty much any sales team should have the ability they already have their accounts, especially, if they're running an ABM model, they already know who they sell to. So if it's, startups that sell SaaS, that have a SaaS product with X amount of funding, you'd have a list like that. You'd run it through Lasso. We can also help you create the list if you want us to. But in Q2, we'll have our account list builder. So you could theoretically just build it in Lasso and then say, Lasso, go find me contacts that are match this criteria. And so based on those two different efforts, one, you're going to be targeting an ICP or a title of a salesperson, right? And so that message, that prompt to that person is going to be slightly different, because the CTA, that call to action, you're going to say, you're going to explain, that you're looking for, a different type of action or behavior, and maybe there's a different value proposition for them participating, versus the other one where you're essentially selling Tenbound and why, this is different, or why this is additive, or, maybe you have something different from like G2, or whatever is out there in terms of that you want to benchmark or baseline in terms of why they should, fill out a profile and, put their technology into your platform. So both of those functions, though, in terms of finding those contacts, creating messaging that's, specific to them, that's personalized as well. Hey, seeing that you lead sales for said company, I'm reaching out to you specifically for this reason. Like that type of umbrella prompt with Lasso, exactly what we built it for.
That's perfect. And so I still need to have some creativity and market knowledge in order to make the prompts, right? So when is the AI going to come and be able to make the prompts for me? No.
No, I mean, it's coming. I mean,
Yeah.
now, and anyone that's using GPT, like the creativity that you can, like, and if you ever gotten writer's block, right? And
Always.
you like, yeah, always. So a GPT, it's like, and sometimes you have the right, maybe it's the wording, but you just want to test it. And just the other day, I was trying to, find a way to imply a sense of urgency into a message without sounding salesy. And I'm prompting GPT for that. And so prompt engineering, that is definitely something in terms of we as humans are very new to from an AI perspective. And this is really a moment in time. And there's probably years from now, we'll, look back at this and laugh about what we're talking about. But it is a thing. And we're training Lasso with over 4 million emails. So we have a tremendous advantage in terms of the volumetric machine learning that's happening now to train in terms of what's working. Even when you think about probability going after like C-suite or high seniority, the type of messaging you're going to use there, we see the machine learning telling us, okay, for these types of messaging, you're going to approach a C-suite different than a VP, different than a director, and it's most likely to be more referral based, connecting us with folks in your team, knowing that you're going through almost like a scheduling process that's probably going to involve a executive assistant. And when you can do that programmatically, or the AI is smart enough to know to switch the type of message from direct to referral based on seniority, or even ideally down the road, maybe we have, machine learning down to that individual contact, like what type of messages do they actually respond to if we reach that type of, scale potentially,
Ooh,
like,
that's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool? It's like this person only responds to, emails that are 15 words or less. And so you're right, like, so to write a sentence, it'd be pretty cool. And from a recipient
Yeah.
perspective, we're not encouraging, more, spray and pray, mass send, um, you know, messaging. We're really encouraging, personalized why you, why now, why I wrote this specifically for you, to the point of the test that you're passing is this written for me, right? And really focused on the prospect. So I think that the medium and the channel of sending email is about to go through a new era. It's already happening. We're seeing it. And I think that as recipients of cold email that we all see and the amount of spam we get, I'm optimistic that that's going to change. I'm
Mhm.
optimistic that the Google monitoring spam complaints, requiring unsubscribe, full authentication, all of the things that Google and Yahoo are rolling out in February of 2024, those are good, right? And some people might be sitting there thinking this is the end of fun. Like I've been, sending templated emails for a very long time. How am I going to do this? And they've probably seen a diminishing return in the last 12 months because we see it. We see that from an email channel perspective, if you're sending templated based emails, right? We know that, and we hear it from the teams we work with, that there's been 20 to 30% decline in the same, types of activities they were doing a year ago. They're just producing less. Now, is there, does a recession factor into that? Is it economic? There's a lot of variables that can affect that. Is it even deliverability? Is it because your message is ending up in spam? Um, we do see this email as more problematic than it's ever been, but as the optimist and also the problem solver and someone that is effectively paid for booking meetings, right? We see it as an opportunity, and we happen to have built a technology that's timed perfectly, coincidentally, for this new change in terms of policing from Google and Yahoo, and really this, I think, more of a cultural change that we needed to make as salespeople to be more, personalized and effective at communication. So it's definitely a glass is half full opportunity, challenge, and we see that things can break, but our response organizationally is good. Because if it's broken for us, it's broken for everybody. How can we improve? How can we be better at sales and sales development? So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, it's interesting because outsourcing your sales development makes a lot of sense in that, you don't necessarily want to put the car together and become a licensed mechanic. You just want to get in the car and drive. So it's just like basically your Uber for sales development. You just call up the agency and you're on your way. You don't have to learn all the mechanical stuff. But a lot of companies want to do it in house because they feel like over it, and they're gonna develop their sales team, as the bench strength to bring it up. But I mean, there's so many great opportunities for a company like yours because you're an expert in the process of sales development and all those aspects. And like a cybersecurity company, for example, they're an expert in cybersecurity. They don't need to also be an expert in sales development. They could just get an agency and done. Then they don't even have to hire SDRs, and buy all this equipment for them. They could just pay invoice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And creating bench depth for sales teams is super important. What's fascinating is when you think about the top of the funnel, it's top of the funnel, bottom of the food chain in terms of bottom of the org chart. Typically, like a lot of people have seen this as an entry level position, but it's the top of your how you start your entire revenue process, right? And how we ended up there in terms of top of the funnel is bottom of the food chain in terms of from a priority perspective. We're gonna hire people out of college to dial and smile and dial and let the cream float to the top. That mindset. I mean, that is an absolute miss in terms of what the discipline is of sales development. And I do believe when you look at like you can go and get a marketing degree, you can go and get these, certain types of, if it's, content and copywriting and design, where's sales development? Because sales development requires the skill set of currently without having the AI that we're showing you in programmatic kind of efficiency that we're developing. Like you need to be able to, like, you're going to be buried in sheets every day as in sales development. And you're going to be doing things that are never meant for a human to do, like list cleaning, right? So what is that? So whenever you parse a list of accounts and it like say it's Pepsi, right? You want to reach out to Pepsi and say, hey, so you do this for for Pepsi. But normally you get like the legal name. It's like Pepsi Incorporated or something. And so you have to spend your day, thousands of rows, thousands of cells, and you're looking for, to list clean company names, and you're spending hours doing that to make sure that when you merge that into an email, it's not going to hat tip that you're clearly using automation.
I've done that.
Yeah, right. Subject lines. I mean,
Nightmare.
even finding like the casual in like the inner tone, like you do social media at said company at Disney, will say, like you're not going to reach out to someone and say, "Hey, seeing that you're vice president of social media at Disney," you're going to say, "Hey, see, I see you lead social for Disney. We should chat." Right? What does the human like inner tone sound like? And in order to do that, you're going to be burning a lot of hours doing manual, repetitious, boring stuff. And then you have to put on your copywriting hat and be David Ogilvy, right? And write these amazing messages, or just spray and pray and hope that it is a numbers game, and as long as you annoy enough people with cadences that have 26 steps in them, something along those lines, they're going to eventually like give in and respond. And so the discipline, though, the craft of sales development, piquing interest, personalization at scale, understanding how to manage data. I mean, it is such a complex, type of role and skill set to have. And guess what? In 6 months, you need to become an AE. At least that's the, you know, it's a stepping stone to something else. And people don't stay a career in sales development, particularly unless they're maybe leading the department, etc. But I think culturally, we have some changes we need to make as businesses, as B2B businesses, in terms of sales development's here to stay, right? The skill set of developing the ability to do B2B outreach at scale is here to stay. The tooling is coming in to help us. And so I do think that we'll see, industry changes where you have folks that are, chief, in sales development, or not just revenue like CRO, but in terms of getting, the conversation started. It's kind of like the leadoff hitter for a baseball team. I get on first base, so the lineup or the power hitters can potentially score a run, and that's nearly identical to what we're seeing happening in business.
It's so true. It's interesting because usually the CMO or the head of marketing is on the hook for developing pipeline, but they've never been an SDR before, or they've never been in sales. They came up through like brand or demand gen or something like that. And so it's almost like the person in charge of what you're talking about has no idea what the inner workings of the sausage making are at all. They're just like, I'm going to go to a Gartner, Magic Quadrant meeting and go to speak at this conference and stuff like that. So it's just this weird, disjointed thing. The other thing is, you said something interesting. There's some colleges out there who have sort of there's a marketing, bachelor's degree with a sales certificate that you can get. It's
Yeah,
sort of this
it's starting.
ugly stepchild over in the
Yeah, yeah,
corner. Nobody
yeah.
wants to say, "Oh, I
No.
majored in sales," But
Yeah,
then again, most of the people being pumped out of these bachelor degree programs go into sales or they
yeah,
become SDRs. So there's no training or anything. They just are all of a sudden,
yeah.
now they work at home and they've got 10 different tools and stuff. It's a very weird situation, but
Well,
I digress.
I think that it's funny you say that, because whenever we present copy to a client, say, here's what we recommend, right? If our client is a marketer, the reaction I mean, they'll practically fall out of their chair because we couldn't be more opposite than the way a marketer approaches storytelling, right? Marketers are myopic. They think about the product name, even the way they've been educated to communicate with like a introductory statement, the supportive evidence, and the conclusion, like in terms of how we're all taught to communicate. And then you look at our how we text message, right? You look at how humans actually communicate to each other. And when we produce messaging, it's prospect first. It's human first. We're saying like, product names are, important to you, not a prospect that's never heard from you, right? So we're going to exclude all these things, your normal way of communication, and we're going to be explicitly human to the person. And so, for example, if it's conference outreach and we're headed to Vegas, subject line might be connect in Vegas, question mark, right? Like you're headed to Vegas, I'm headed to, yeah, you're headed to Vegas, I'm headed to Vegas, and then your opener is going to be, hey, senior attending RSA in Vegas, and you do this for say company, we should find time to connect. Here's a couple things about what we're doing. I think you'll find it interesting. Let's there's a Starbucks at the bottom of the escalator. Maybe we can find a time to meet there, right? Like that human message. And when people receive that, they'll never guess, or at least now they will because the AI is here. But in years past, the amount of success we've had being human, it's interesting that we need machines to be human. And then the actually humans, the actual human generated messaging is this, verbose, blah, blah, blah of what we built named blah, 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 built by people that are backed by blah, blah, blah from, blah, blah, blah backgrounds, like
Yeah.
the types of,
Here's
bad
my
messaging.
TechCrunch article. Here's
Exactly.
my TechCrunch article.
Oh, exactly. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Nothing
Go.
against TechCrunch, but it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Here's my 200-word email that has a link at the bottom, and you should go read and learn about our case study. It's like, come on, you kidding? Like we have time. No one has time. People scan. They don't read anymore. It's a scanning game on emails, and so
yeah,
the more it's shorthand, it's tweet length, it's brevity, it's cutting through the bullshit while not sounding like you're a salesperson, right? Because sales resistance, like that's the problem with engagement and emails that are going to spam. It's because you're writing spam. It's this super salesy email. It's about you. It's not about them. And it is fascinating that it takes a machine to help us be more human. But it's also, I think, a time for change, and with change comes opportunity. So it's exciting times.
it is. And I mean, you're living it every day. So, okay. So Demand Inc. and then Lasso. How do people, I think you're going to get a lot of interest in this. So how do people get in touch with you if they do a trial or something like
Yep.
that? How would it work?
Yeah. So go to Lasso.ai.
Okay.
You can sign up for an account for no cost. We have a pay-as-you-go program. We have a bunch of launch benefits and perks to discount to get people using. We want as many folks on the platform as possible. We want the feedback. We want to hear what we should build next too. We got a bunch of cool stuff that are in the works, but we have a very much a for us, by us mindset in terms of what we're building in Lasso. So Lasso.ai. You will get connected with a human if you're hearing this at the beginning of 2024, because we are embracing, the community. We want your feedback. We want to show you how to use it, give you bonus credits to get as much value out of it as you possibly can. If you want top of funnel or full funnel or top of funnel white offering through Demand Inc. in terms of you want a sales development team to plug in, that's best in class, go to demandinc.co, so demandinc.co. You can find us there, and there's a contact us form on the page. But from a Lasso perspective and think of Lasso as it's a research tool in your copywriter, and then Demand's kind of like the full managed service. We can show you both, and anyone that's interested, we're happy to chat with you through either channel, and you can book a demo on Lasso as well. So whatever way you come through, just let the folks know on our end that you want to look at both, and we'll run you through a demo to see if one of them speaks to you.
That's perfect. And I know that Lasso and Demand Inc. are on the 10-bound directory. Lasso has a few preliminary reviews already. And then I'm working with Dan to get a couple of reviews on Demand Inc. as well. So you guys can also connect and go through there. And I'll get you in front of Derek so you can check this out. Derek, thank you so much for coming on the show. Good luck with everything.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me, and hopefully I'll see you in the Bay Area sometime.
Yeah, I'll see you after Nashville, right?
All right. Take care.